Hello everyone and welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. My name is Jules Gill and I'm joined by the man who is always forever shambling towards my heart. It is Scott Tailford.
Hello, I will fight you.
We're here from his isolation station here. Where are you? You're in Newcastle, aren't you still?
I love you forgot where I live. It's been
right, it's week 4. I've got insane. My brain has just fallen out my bloody arse, mate.
Yeah, you're relegated to being down south somewhere. I don't know where you are, to be honest, so I can't take that.
I'm in Wales, and to be honest, it feels like I've gone back to the Shire. Like if I walk outside with my headphones on, and people are like, "What are those magical devices?
What have you been doing?"
Anyway,
so yes.
The question on everyone's lips at the moment isn't actually to do with Resident Evil 3's remake, which we will touch on later, Scott. Do not worry. Do not fret, my friend. But it is instead about the ever-famous quote from the ever-lovable merchant from Resident Evil 4. What are you buying? Because Capcom has just announced, or at least there's been a lot of rumours that have definitely been source accredited, that they are working on Resident Evil 4's remake now. Ooh, how do we feel about this?
My initial take, which I tweeted out just as a reactionary emotional response, was, oh my god, why are you doing this, and why don't you just remake Dino Crisis or Onimusha or something that would actually benefit from a remake? What's the point? Resident Evil 4 still plays phenomenally, and it's not even that old, and it's just like, all it's going to be is a reskin. It's going to look better, and that's fine, but I don't need it.
You say that it will just be a reskin. The problem is that obviously Resident Evil 3 was actually quite a bit of a reshuffle. So Resident Evil 2, I'd say, is a very honest remake, and Resident Evil 1 is probably the Resident Evil 1 remake is probably the perfect remake for me because of the fact that it elevated it. It didn't change too much about it, and it used the framework exactly as was intended from the original game, or the GameCube version at least. So Resident Evil 2 came along and obviously did its thing. It cut a few things out. It made things feel a bit more fast-paced. It changed up all the enemy layouts and what we knew about the Raccoon City Police Department and things like that. Resident Evil 3 comes along, and it's clearly intending to tell its own story. It's really trying to establish that this is the new narrative moving forward, and I've got no problem with that. I do worry, however, though, that this meant that they cut a few features out, they changed a few deliveries, they've added in new characters, they've obviously changed the relationships between them, and that obviously changes the dynamic of the games going forward. And Resident Evil 4 is so beloved by the fan base. It is held up as either being the best, or if not the best, very near the top of the body pile. So the question is, will a remake change too much about this? Will it change it to be something that is for fans but not really appeasing either the newcomers or the Resident Evil old diehards like me and you?
Well, the thing with RE4, obviously, it's got a 96 Metacritic, and it's held up as one of the greatest games of all time. And obviously, it pioneered the whole over-shoulder third-person aiming thing, which Gears of War would then kind of take and run with. But I think that it felt revolutionary. I mean, I remember when I saw that game being played and be like, oh my god, nothing's ever looked like this or played like this. And it was phenomenal, and it made these giant sort of ructions. I'm curious what the hell they do with it to try and replicate that, if they even want to replicate that. You'd have to try and think of something that would do for the modern age what RE4 did for 2003, which is nigh on impossible. But we should run off some details about the remake, because there's been more stuff's come out. Video Game Chronicle were the ones who revealed it initially, said that they were able to verify it through their own sources. And apparently it's scheduled for a 2022 release, which immediately I like, because I didn't like that RE3 came a year after RE2, and you could tell. We can talk about RE3 in a bit. But yeah, that game was very much, let's reuse some assets from RE2 and just do another one. Which I thought you could kind of tell it was a year, a really short turnaround. So apparently this has been in development since 2018.
Which is mad when you think about it, because obviously that means that it was they started this at the same time they started working on the Resident Evil 2 remake.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So it's a new development team called M2, which apparently stands for Minami and Mikami. It's Tetsuya Minami and Shinji Mikami's new studio. So M2 are a new team, but some parts of them also helped out with Resident Evil 3, which was made by a different dev team. And so now M2 are doing the proper Resident Evil 4 remake. Shinji Mikami is the original creative director for Resident Evil 4. He's not back on board fully with the new one, but he is staying on as a consultant. Apparently he was already asked about doing it, and the whole project came together because of him.
Honestly, Shinji Mikami is an absolute ledge, by the way. If you need any other examples of his work, then just check out Vanquish, because he was spearheading that, and it was just beautiful.
Yeah, that whole early, or sort of like across the 2000s, like crazy streak that Capcom had was very much because of him. And yeah, you wouldn't even have RE4 in the state that it's in without Shinji Mikami. So he's still working on his new game, Ghostwire Tokyo. So he's not going to be on board with the RE4, like in a, I don't know, more direct capacity, but he is staying on board to provide informal advice, which just makes it sound like someone's going to go to him with boards of stuff and he'll go, nah, F that, don't want it.
I just want him to just be like, I want this, but just more tentacles. Like, just make it mad. Just make it madder.
Could you put an eye on their shoulder? Maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That might make it better. But yeah, according to like the insiders from the VGC report, the project does have Shinji Mikami's full approval. His help is limited because he's obligated to Ghostwire. But part of how this project even came to be was through his decision and through talking with Capcom. So it seems like he was the one who wanted to go back to it, or at least get it out there so it can be redone for a new audience, which is quite interesting because I would say that RE4 is one of the most ageless Resident Evils.
Well, we've had a very recent, or at least fairly recent, HD remaster that came out for the PS4, and obviously PC has been getting the sort of regular updates on it as well. Like, I feel like it is in its current state probably the best, most crystallized version of what it should be, and I don't personally know how to feel about them tackling this, because they even said in this there's a Video Games Chronicle article that I'll just read a quote from, which is from the team, the M2 team, saying, I understand the interests and concerns, but whether it helps or not, be aware that Resident Evil 4 does have a larger overall team than Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 3's remake had, and a lot of time conceptualizing it. So I do feel like if they are giving it this time and love, then it clearly shows that they know how important it is. I mean, I'd say that RE1 Remake was an absolute smash success. RE2 was the unexpected underdog that upended everyone's conversation on what was the best Resident Evil game. Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 3, I feel like it has so much great potential, but just fell short of the mark, maybe because of the fact that they were clearly pushing to use this as a vehicle to put Resident Evil Resistance in more than anything else. But they clearly know how much fans want Resident Evil 4 to be treated with respect, so hopefully they're giving it the resources that it needs.
So there's a couple of things with that. You mentioned like the other teams that have come on board. So apparently it is M2 is a much larger team overall than what was used for Resident Evil 3, and it takes team members from Resident Evil 2's remake and Devil May Cry 5 combined, alongside all these other different staff members. But DMC5's game designer Koji Kakai, he's on board, and I adore DMC5, so I kind of wonder, even if Mikami's not on board in terms of the craziness, you can get someone who worked on a Devil May Cry to sort of go, okay, we should do this fun stuff with the choreography.
Well, look at Resident Evil 4. It is a absolutely crazy as hell game when you boil down what actually happens in it. I mean, like, it's even down to the minutiae of how they're going to tackle things such as the merchants. Are they going to keep that character in, or because of the fact that they're rewriting this new narrative, is he going to be something that gets pushed to the side as just a shop icon menu or something like that?
Oh, he'll have to be in it.
There's some dialogue that's between Ashley and Leon that is like, I don't know what age she's meant to be, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know that there was a few risky comments in there, and I'm worried that, like, are they going to change that, or are they going to exemplify that more, because Devil May Cry 5 did not shy away from being quite outrageous with its content. So are they going to do that? Like, are we going to be talking about ballistic weapons, if you know what I'm talking about, a bit more?
Well, the stuff with Ashley, I mean, obviously, like, back in the day, like, escort missions were still in more games overall, so it's like trying to make a game that is, I don't know, like 60% or 70% escort mission. I feel like they're going to have to really overhaul her AI. I didn't have a massive problem with it, but I know that it has gone down in gaming history. It's like, oh no, it's that game with the escort missions with the bad AI, with Ashley screaming Leon every 2 seconds.
They might actually, because of the fact that they've played fast and loose with the stuff that's in the Resident Evil 3 remake, what if they do decide to say to you, right, okay, Ashley isn't going to be this, like, I was going to say helpless, but that's not really her character role. Let's just say that she's a glorified escort mission. What if they say to the player, you're going to play as her now? You're going to take control of Ashley. That changes, that one change the entire tone of the game. Like, because then
I would take that. I mean, something like that where you, I don't know, like Leon calls out that he's going to take someone out, and you kind of have to. It's like how Mary Jane works in the Spider-Man game. It's sort of, you're aware of when you need to duck out the way and let someone else take the shot, and you're also maybe getting a few shots off yourself. I don't know. I would welcome stuff like that. I would welcome changes like that. At least it makes it more worthwhile.
They toyed with it with Resident Evil Revelations 2. They had that mechanic where obviously you could hot swap between your two characters. So maybe there's potential for them to bring that technology over. But again, how they use that to interact with puzzles and make things carry on with a proper flow is yet to be seen, I think.
Yeah, one of the last things in terms of like the general sort of development, the team sizes and stuff, is another quote saying that M2 were also helping with RE3, like I said before, for some practice, and they were also working on Resident Evil 4 alongside 3. That kind of explains why 3 was a little bit... I mean, I think it's quite threadbare, but like it's still satisfying. It's just that there's not enough to it, I don't think. But they said that though, looking at the general reception to RE3, they said you can bet your ass that they were also following the reception of Resident Evil 3's remake closely to see what worked and didn't work, etc., so that they know what to then put back into RE4.
Now that statement actually kind of it makes my blood go a bit fizzy, because of the fact that I don't like it when companies suggest that what you're playing or what has been marketed to you as being this amazing standalone experience was in effect a testing ground for them to release something bigger and better later down the line. If that is the case, and this is basically the ground zeros to Metal Gear Solid 5, then this should have been released at a price point that reflects that. I have no problem with what Resident Evil 3 is. I feel like it did something like new. What worked really worked, and what didn't work was just a mild annoyance at the end of the day. It wasn't long enough being its main sort of like criticism that you could level at it. But I feel like they charged a full price for that, and I don't agree with that. I mean, we got review copies through, so we didn't obviously have to pay for it, but it was a case of I would have felt a sting in my wallet if I shelled out 60 quid for it.
Yeah, we got a couple in. Benroy got one, you got one. Obviously, we put the review together. I did pay £50 for it.
And there you go.
I just think that game is glorified DLC. It's like we could do a different thing on this. But yeah, I mean, it's true though. Like for me, reading this quote kind of explains it. I'm like, okay, like, yeah, it's not, I wouldn't necessarily say it's the ground zeros to Phantom Pain, but it does feel like a stepping stone. And in no world is what RE3 Remake is. It's not worth full price. For me, it should have been £10, $15, something like that. It just feels like DLC because they reuse so many assets from 2 as well, the police station, the different Raccoon City streets, like stuff like that. But I think that I do love in speaking of RE3 that they do tease RE4 in it. There's a text entry you can find where they talk about experimenting with viruses, with parasites.
Yes.
And I don't think that would have been in the original RE3, or maybe I missed it. And obviously now in hindsight they can kind of tie all the fiction together and make RE4 and Las Plagas and all that kind of stuff make more sense.
What is interesting, obviously, is that they've announced that it's going to be Resident Evil 4 is the next title that's coming out in 2021? 2022. Does that mean, therefore, that there's enough scope and space for them to release Code Veronica, do you think? Because this is a mild spoiler for anyone who's not played the Resident Evil 3 remake, so I'll give you a 3-second warning. At the end of the game, we see Jill walk past a broken vial that had the vaccine in, and she walks off. Now, could that be insinuating that she is off to go to, I can't remember what the island is called, but she ends up there in Code Veronica looking for the vaccine. And so that could be a hint as that could be the next game, but... Maybe.
That was like a weird post-credits thing. It was because she says, it's time to go save the world or something. And I was like, okay, that's just kind of like a general, and then she went on to do whatever she did. But because they haven't really commented on Code Veronica, and considering how much is leaking in regards to Resident Evil 8 and now this, Code Veronica is like the one sort of black sheep that's just not being talked about at all. But I would say it makes way more sense than 4 in terms of what you can do with the original to modernize it.
I would have said
Code Veronica is like the last one that would need that.
Well, it was the last one that used the fixed camera angle before they started going into the full-on over-the-shoulder action routes. I really think that they could have benefited from announcing Code Veronica before Resident Evil 4. I feel like we have this hype train that's already started now, and it's great to see that they're hopefully going to treat this with respect, but at the same time they've barely let Resident Evil 3 settle in the market. They've barely and now they're just trying to get us back on board for this, and we've got to wait until 2022.
Well, I guess if the rumors leaks are on point for RE8, then that's coming next year, and then it'll be Resident Evil 4 Remake the year after that. So I guess Capcom are definitely experimenting with annual release models, and we've had like RE2 last year, RE3 this year, RE8 next year, RE4's Remake the year after that. And then I don't know where they go after that, but I mean, they obviously made the RE engine as a way to get more stuff out there on a yearly basis. And it's just then a case of maintaining quality, which I don't. RE3 is just fine, and I think that if like that can't be their baseline, it has to be something more meaningful, and hopefully they do more with 4. But looking at the quotes that are out there, the insider reports and stuff, it seems like RE4 is a more meaningful installment than just 3.
Well, it has to be, because Resident Evil 2 and 3, they operated on a 1 to 2 hour, 3 hour campaign for each of the scenarios that they had. Resident Evil 4 is a 30 to 40 hour game, so they are.
I don't remember it being that long.
Well, You can complete it a lot quicker, but there was so many modes, the mercenary mode that they added in, there was always the Ada modes for the PS2 and stuff like that. So hopefully if we get all of that bundled in, you're looking at something that is so packed with content that it's like immediately as soon as you start finishing it, there's something else to play.
Yeah, that was the best feeling with RE2, was just I can't wait to go like rerun this, unlock different weapons and try it all again. And I don't know, I'm super sour on 3, so I just think it's a bit naff. But either way,
the lack of mercenaries mode was hugely disappointing to me. It was the first actual extra mode that I unlocked as a kid, because I don't know if I told you, Resident Evil 2 was something that I didn't actually complete until quite later on. I was too scared of it. So when I got Resident Evil 3 and I saw it was more action focused, I was much more like invested in that. I completed it, went back into mercenaries mode, and I was like, this is an amazing fun game, this is so good. I didn't even know about Fourth Survivor and Tofu until like years later.
God, when RE2 came back out last year, I feel like everyone rediscovered that stuff and it felt great. Obviously newcomers did, but with 3 it's just they just sort of got it out there. It makes great business sense to charge full price for some reused assets, but it didn't feel worthwhile. But yeah, this stuff seems promising though.
Well, there we go. That's the Resident Evil 4 news, that it is coming, that you will have to wait until 2022, and there has been a lot of love potentially put into this title, seeing as it was started development in 2018. But as we get more news, we will be forever shambling across the horizon to deliver it to you. Brains and news. Stores. I missed the pathetic sounding zombies, by the way. Can I just put that my closing point is that there used to be a few of them who were just like, oh, no.
I think Deadly Premonition pretty much embraced that.
They were just brilliant.
Kind of like, I don't want to die.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to die. Anyway, that was the news. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you'd like to follow us and chat more, you can do so over on Twitter at RetroJ with a 0 for myself, and you can follow Scott at
/LP89.
You are damn right you can. I hope that you have a fantastic day, whatever you are getting up to, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.